Valorant's latest skin bundle, called Holo Meridian, is dropping later today, and it actually has a new feature that I haven't seen anyone talking about yet. I'll go more in depth on that one later, but trust me, it's the sort of thing that is going to make these skins feel a lot more satisfying to use, and could turn an otherwise underwhelming skin line into something worth copying. Let's start with the theme and the design first though, because like a lot of you guys, when I first saw the reveal I wasn't too impressed. Nothing here really grabs me, and I feel like we've already seen skins similar to this before. At the very least, the Vandal model changes things up quite a lot. The stock is basically removed, so the gun feels a lot smaller. In-game, that's especially noticeable on some of the animations. The reload, the inspect, things like that. I will hone in on some of those specific animations in a second, but I did also notice that the gun body is going to sit a lot further forward on the Vandal than normal. This is going to have its upsides and downsides depending on how you look at it. For example, there are some skins in the game like Prelude to Chaos, where the body sits so far back and you can hardly even see it in game. However, in this case on Holo Meridian, it might actually get blocked at some points by the agent's hand, and then on top of that, I think there are even going to be some clipping issues with the rope here, which is an interesting design choice in itself. I'm sure it's meant to represent something within the theme, but it's a little bit lost on me. It is worth pointing out this rope is going to have physics, so it will move around as you move around. I saw some comments saying that they love this little detail, whereas I'm sure others will find it too distracting, so let me know what you think. Okay, now to finally look at the animations on the Vandal, and as you might have noticed, it actually reuses the Prime Vandal reload animation. Even though Prime was the first skin ever released after Valorant launched, this is only the second skin to use the same reload. And no, before you comment, SplashX does not have this one, it took from Prelude to Chaos instead. You can see in that case, the gun opens up more from the top, whereas here and with Prime, the old canister just flies out at an angle, and there's a more designated slot for the new canister to slide into. Then the inspect animation isn't as obvious, but I technically think it's new as well, or at the very least I don't recognize it. You do the same sort of poses as normal, angling one side towards you and then flipping the gun around, but since the shape of the gun is so different, the whole animation had to be adjusted slightly. This isn't a huge difference, but I wanted to mention it, and no, this still isn't the feature I was teasing earlier. That actually ties much more into the feel of the skin rather than just how it looks. Before we get into that though, let's quickly run through the rest of the Holo Meridian bundle, and the weapon with the most to talk about is probably going to be the Sheriff. It does borrow quite a lot from Arcane or Neo Frontier, namely the equip, reload, and holding or shooting animation. I do quite like how this Sheriff skin sounds. I think the shots are nice, but overall I think it is just a little plain for my liking. And then the same unfortunately goes for both the Judge and the Operator, where the design of the skins just doesn't do enough to really drag me in. Then because all of the animations are default on top of that, even though these two skins sound really cool, it's a lot harder to justify picking these up compared to say the Vandal, which feels a lot more unique in comparison. So overall, until now, things are feeling pretty underwhelming, but that's exactly why the sound design matters so much here, and it's kind of carrying parts of this skin line to be honest. Other than the finisher, which I'll get to later, I think the sound effects are one of the highlights of Holo Meridian. I mean, like I was saying, it was the standout part even on some of the lackluster weapons. Meanwhile, the Vandal sounds like a laser, and I think it's going to feel super satisfying to use in game. That finally brings us to this new feature I've only been teasing so far, and it's actually going to build on the already impressive sound design. Holo Meridian has two different kill banners. Not just visually, where the icon changes a little bit, but also audibly, so the game gives you completely different feedback depending on how you get the kill. In this case, the difference is whether or not the kill is a headshot. So first I'll play the kill banners for body shot kills, and then I'll play the kill banners for headshot kills. Even though it might only seem like a minor difference to an already small detail, the kill banner to me is one of the most important aspects of any Valorant skin, dictating how satisfying or rewarding it feels to use in game. I already know that a lot of players are going to go crazy for this too, because there was a lot of backlash back when that headshot text got removed. Now you have this new skin where the kill banner not only has an additional visual indicator for a headshot, but more importantly, the actual kill sound will improve too. Only time will tell whether this is going to be a one-off thing or if Riot will just do this for most skins going forward from now on, but let me know what you think of this skin giving you additional feedback for headshot kills. Anyway, like I was saying earlier, the finisher is another standout for Holo Meridian, and I think that's the only thing I've seen people actually agreeing on for this bundle. Most people hate the design, but a few people are saying it's underrated. Meanwhile, everyone is saying things like this finisher is sick or this skin is awful, except for the finisher. The mines being interactive is a fun detail, and it seems like even if you don't shoot them, they'll just eventually detonate, with the debris floating around like we're in space. This finisher also just visually looks gorgeous to me with the stars and the clouds, and then the laser grid is a nice touch too. That brings us to the other variants or colorways for Holo Meridian. I think this black and gold or black and yellow one is my favorite, but even with this one, I'm not obsessed by any means. I think the only part that I really like is how the back part of the gun becomes a little bit wooden. So I do like that variant more than the default, which I think is just that, pretty default and standard. Then for both the other variants, let's say white and green, they're just sort of to me. The muzzle flash looks pretty cool in both cases, but that's about it. I do want to quickly go back to the finishers with the variants in mind, because each finisher changes to match each variant as you would expect, but sometimes there are colors that you wouldn't expect. Like for example, I don't really like this green variant that much, but then the finisher has this sick looking purple hue. But yeah, overall this finisher might not be as epic as something like Imperium or Ayakashi, but it feels like it really changes the whole world around you, and it's also interactive. After all that, we've finally come to the knife in this collection called Holoflare, which honestly might be another selling point since it's practically two knives in one. That's because it is going to swap poses similar to the Protocol melee. If you aren't familiar with that one, essentially there are two separate ways that you hold this knife, either out in front of you like Xeno Hunter or to the side like Protocol. Then whenever you swing, not only does a different animation play, but you will also swap to the alternate pose when the knife comes back into your hand. This also means that this knife is going to have two different inspect animations. One of them is clearly from Xeno Hunter, and then the other one I think is unique, but correct me if I'm wrong on that. I'm confident it has two new equip animations though. In both cases you hold the knife out for a second and then the glow wraps around. Some people were saying the right click is default, and while sure the initial thrust is, on one hand it mirrors Protocol and flips back to that sideways hold, while the other right click I believe has a new return animation. Finally, for the price of Holo Meridian, the bundle is exclusive tier in-game, so that means it is expected to cost 8,700 Valorant points. That should mean the guns cost 2,175 Valorant points, and the knife would be 4,350 Valorant points, unless Riot pull any funny business and upcharge because of maybe the kill banner variation or the knife having so many animations. So overall, while I'm definitely let down by the Sheriff, Judge and Operator, I do think both the knife and Vandal are pretty decent. Then you add in a sick finisher, solid sound design and a new feature with the kill banner, and I don't think you're looking at a terrible bundle here. I still don't love the overall design or theme, but I think I'll pick up the Vandal just to see how satisfying it is in game. As of when I'm recording this, I don't know exactly when I'll have this video going live, but I will put the shop timer on screen now because the release of this bundle shouldn't be too far away. Let me know in the comments if you guys are planning on picking anything up from Holo Meridian and what you think of the skin line in general.